sitting there. People on the right.
Yep.
Welcome, councillors, members, staff and others and members of our community online. Please ensure your devices and cell phones are either switched off or on silent mode whilst this meeting is in progress. The cell phone interrupts the course of the meeting, which also allows the device to be used. This extraordinary council meeting is being held in the supper room of the Waitangi Centre, Martinborough Town Hall. It is being live streamed and will be available to view on Council's YouTube channel. The emergency exits for this room are the door you came in and the exit door behind me. And if the need to evacuate the building is to arise, we will use one of these exits in the centre by the playground. As with our earlier meeting this morning, I'll invite you all to join me in a karakia. Not in this agenda. Oh, sorry.
Another one.
Enough.
Page 4.
Enough score.
No, it's not there.
Please slide them around.
Sorry, that's my.
That's right. Good enough.
It's an extraordinary card.
Through. One for down that side. Everybody, folks. Yeah, the photos. We have apologies this afternoon from Mayor Connolly. Do I have them from the list? Please. Councillor Maynard and Asunda. Violet. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Motion is carried. Are there any conflicts of interest to share this afternoon? Sorry. Oh, sorry. No, you're right. We've moved into a into a council meeting, so I will need another seconding. Sorry, Violet. So yes, thank you. Great. Thank you. Conflicts of interest. None. Any acknowledgements or tributes to share this afternoon? No, and we have no public participation for this meeting. Any urgent business, please? That being the case, we will move into not only what is the main focus of this meeting, but is quite possibly one of the biggest decisions we will take part in during the course of this triennium, and that is local orders done well and how we progress with that. So before I move to our officers, I just would like to acknowledge a huge amount of work that has gone in to get us to this point, both from our officers and from councillors. We have had staff working on, to incredible detail, various options that this council and our communities take part in. We've had councillors sitting on, or Councillor Olmos specifically, sitting on advisory oversight groups, both for a Wellington regional option and a Wairarapa plus Tararua option. And we as councillors have been involved in a number of workshops and meetings over a number of months, trying to understand what is a second or third iteration of a huge piece of reform and how to best make decisions for our community for generations ahead of us. So today we make decisions about where we move to from here, and we make those decisions because to continue to move forward with multiple options is a huge drain on not only our staff resources, but will continue to be a huge cost to this council and therefore this community. So it's vital that today we make decisions to start narrowing down our options. And with that said, whilst it is a huge decision for us all to make, I have every confidence in this council that we will be brave and make courageous decisions for the betterment of our community. And I move to hear from both Stefan and Robin about the work that has taken place to date, and where to from here.
Okay, Kia ora. Give me, I'm just catching my breath from coming from another council meeting. But yes, I think this is a journey that we have been on as a council for a number of years now, starting with the water reform under the previous government. And with the new government, they certainly signalled very early on that it was their intention to approach water services in a different way under the and very early on in February of last year, they put through the first of 3 bills associated with what they're calling their local water policies. The first was the repeal of the water reform under the previous government, and then they came in with a second bill, preliminary arrangements, that became an act in September this year. Now, what that act talked about was the fact that every council is going to have to deliver to the DIA a water services delivery plan to give certainty to the public and the government that water services were going to be delivered appropriately in the future, that they were financially sustainable, that the revenue and investments were appropriate, that the quality and levels of service were reached that needed to be reached for the community. Now, we have 12 months from the royal assent on that bill to deliver to the DIA our water services delivery plan, including the arrangements under which we are going to be delivering water services in the future. There's an opportunity to jointly deliver those water services with other councils, territorial authorities. And so the first decision that needs to be made is, do we wish to work with other TAs in the delivery of water services? And when that became apparent, there were 2 practical options that emerged for South Wairarapa to participate in. The first being the Wellington regional option of 10 councils, being the 6 Wellington Water Limited owning councils, plus the other 2 Wairarapa councils, Kapiti and Porowhenua. That project has been progressed under a memorandum of understanding on a phased approach since May. And as the Deputy Mayor mentioned, we have been participating in the governance structure of that project with Councillor Olds being our representative on the oversight group and a project steering group in which our CE participated, and I've been part of the project team. But it is a project that's been run by a group of external consultants reporting to the structure. That's the regional option. Then here in the Wairarapa, a project team was put together with a scope to deliver a Wairarapa, 3 Wairarapa councils, plus potentially a local council, and to look at that option as a joint arrangement in order to deliver water services in the future. So a parallel structure was put together with an oversight group, a project steering group, and a project team. This time, though, an internal team to the 4 councils, comprised of senior staff from the 4 councils, Wairarapa and Taurua. The other difference between the 2 groups is that the Wairarapa Taurua invited and had nominations for 2 iwi members onto our advisory oversight group from both Rangatane and Ngāti Kahungunu, and they're part of the advisory group for Wairarapa Taurua. In Wellington, only 1 iwi representative was invited from Wairarapa to participate in the Wellington regional group, and that was Joe Hayes of Rangatane. So those project teams are put together. The WAI team has been pursued under a terms of preference with a clear scope of work. We're now at the point where we have delivered the first phase of the scope of work, which coincides with a decision being requested from the Wellington group whether or not South Wairarapa wishes to commit to and endorse moving forward with the Wellington regional group. So as a project team, we were asked to look at developing the Wairarapa Taurua option, but to also come up with a framework to assist you in making a decision on which options you wanted to go forward with. The Wellington Regional Group was not asked to do that. That is simply one option that they've been developing. So as you've seen in a number of workshops, we've had several workshops, webinars, we've had discussions with iwi and Mana Whenua. The project team has delivered to you a framework. We've gone through the criteria of assessment. We have run sensitivities on the results of that assessment. We invited iwi to develop and judge the criteria that were important to them as we looked at each option individually. And out of all that, we came up with a ranking of these options against the criteria that were important to our council when considering how to go forward in the future. So we've got to the point where in the reports that have been appendices to the decision taken today, you've got a report from the Wairepa Taurua group on what the Wairepa Taurua option would look like at a very high level, plus an assessment of our options. And then you've got a very extensive report delivered from the Wellington Regional Group about what that would look like. And then we've attempted to look at all the criteria, including the financial aspects, to assist you in making a decision. There has been peer reviews done of both the multi-criteria analysis for that was employed by Castalia. They've also reviewed the approach that the Wellington Group has taken in their analysis going forward, and you've been provided with that information. All along the way, we've also been talking to the Department of Internal Affairs about our approach, the way that we're assessing things, and the viability of the Wairepa Taurua option. Recently, the DIA has also produced a report that said there are compelling reasons to look at a Wairepa plus Taurua option. And I think we've been provided that as well. And so it's been a journey that we've been on for quite some months now. And we've done a lot of engagement and discussions with a number of parties. At this point, Wellington is asking for a commitment and endorsement of moving forward with them. If we were to do that, there is a commitment to considerable investment in the next phases of work, which they've indicated just in the next phase is, I think, upwards to $3.9 million, of which we'd be responsible for 1.9% of that. But they also want to start moving quickly into developing what that Wellington region would look like. And there's talk of establishment costs of $75 to $125 million, of which we would have to start participating in developing things like IT infrastructure. On the other side, in the Wairepa Taurua, we have been doing this as an internal team. In the next phase, which would last from now until the delivery of a more services development plan, there is a proposal that there would be an internal team supplemented by consultants and some project management expertise to take that forward. So there are costs in both ways to participate. If we were to continue to participate in both projects, we would be up for both of those costs, and it would also put considerable risk on our business as usual as staff are drawn into supporting both of those options. For example, our financial staff that are also trying to develop a long-term plan. So this is the first of a number of decisions that are going to have to be made leading towards next year. And what we need to know now is what options we're going to be taking to consultation next year, so we can start developing those up and give the community a view of options, and then what is going to be into our process delivery plan.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, that was amazing. I'll just ask one question, and then what I would like to do, because this is such an important decision, is I'd like to give each councillor an opportunity to either speak or ask a question. My first question is, today's decision is about the two options that we will consult on, one being the new transition option and the second being status quo. Can you just explain what status quo would look like for our council, given that our current model sort of ceases to exist? So what does status quo look like?
So what they're asking us to consult upon is our current delivery model. Our current delivery model is a non-asset owning CCO, not women to water. So we're consulting on, there is a non-asset owning CCO, which is our current way of delivering water services, that would have to comply with legislative requirements. So that's one consultation option. And the other, and currently that is being delivered by Wellington Water, but it's the model that we're consulting on, as opposed to what we're proposing is a water services CCO, which is a multi-council owned CCO that also has assets transferred into it. So the assets go into that new CCO. A water services CCO has a number of advantages in terms of the financial tools that will be made available to it in order to deliver investment in the future. Local government funding agencies indicated that water services CCOs will be able to leverage up to 500% of their free funds from operations as opposed in their debt, as opposed to currently 175%. And we will have access to financing through local government, subject to prudent conditions and a underlying guarantee from participating councils. That's the model that we're consulting.
And we will be consulting on two very distinct models. So I'm going to start down the end with Councillor Woodcock. So you don't have to speak, but I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to either ask any questions or make any comments around which way they might be going. So I'll start with you.
Charles, yeah. If, I know we're not voting on which we're going to go, but suggest down the track, Robin, we go with the YT model. And 10 years down the track, the council's not happy with it and wants to change. How do you go about, and is it possible to pull away and start again, or is once we're down that track with this CCO model and we start with it forever?
So what's going to happen with a water services CCO is that the participating councils will be shareholders and owners of it, but there will be an independent board, and there will also be overlaying all of that. There's going to be economic regulation and other enduring regulation. So in the future, there will be opportunities for that independent board to make strategic decisions, such as would they like to access some kind of service arrangement with other entities that might have expertise? Do they want to join up with somebody else in the future, either north or south? There's nothing in legislation that's going to prevent that going forward. So those strategic decisions will be able to be made in the future, subject of course to the parties wanting to join up, wanting you to join up. But I would think that there will be discussions in the future about for benefits for everybody, about where that things may look in 10 years' time, that there will be larger groups formed in the future as things progress. There's nothing to prevent it.
I was talking more about going the other way and scaling it down so you were a smaller group, backing off, say Carlton and South Ryde might go together on your own or something along those lines. There's nothing to stop that happening.
There's nothing to stop that.
Councils aren't happy.
No. When any new entity is set up, the idea that there will be a constitution, shareholders agreement and some principles, and all that has to be worked through as well. But there's nothing legislatively to stop it.
So with that model, does this table here lose all control of the water assets? any decision making at all?
in the water services CCI. You will, as a shareholder, will participate in the nomination and selection of the board. You will also be providing a letter of expectations, what you expect through this new water services entity, and they will have to reply a statement of intent. And there will also be accountability and performance measurements that will be agreed. But there'll also be the overarching regulation that will look to make sure that the communities are getting the best investment. So there's a number of different tools, but there's 2 or 3 key ones for this council in terms of being a shareholder that you'll be able to employ.
But we won't as such be making financial decisions in the water area, just so the public that are listening can hear that.
Thank you, Councillor Maynard. You don't, like I say, you don't have to at this point, but if you've got any comments or questions.
I don't have a lot, but I would just like to acknowledge the work, Robin, that you in particular and also the rest of your team have actually done. It's to get a report like this is just absolutely fantastic, to be able to actually drill down and see the, you know, the information on top of the workshops and that have taken place as well. Coming and presenting, this isn't anything new because you've actually ensured that council through various other meetings, you've come and represented and explained the difference between Wellington, you know, like what we can be expecting on whatever decision we make. And so, you know, but having this information prior to this meeting, I really appreciate it. So that's all I really wanted to say at this time.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess just to reflect on what you were saying earlier about that this is likely the most important decision that we will make. I know every decision we make is important, but this one has impacts going on for a very long time. And I think I'd like to comment on the process of being an elected representative, making these decisions. If I was just going off how I feel about water, my gut tells me that we're going to a regional model. If we were looking at, you know, the next 30 years, I think that we would be better swimming with some bigger fishes. However, the information that has been provided to us by experts, the amount of time and energy and effort that has gone into collating all of this information is astounding, and the quality of the information that has come out is very, very good. And then the statements from the people who are the real experts in this here, our iwi partners are saying very clearly that they think that a Y+T model is the best. So for me as an elected representative, it's important that I put my feelings aside and look at the evidence, and the evidence is so clear that this is the right decision, is to look at a Y+T model and exit the regional model as soon as we can, for our own benefit, but for us, for our staff's benefit, and for our ratepayers generationally as well. So it's a very long-winded sentence. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. So we'll down to Councillor Bosley and back up, and we'll I'll hand to you to finish.
Oh, I thought, thank you, Chair. I thought I was going to go last. The advantage of being last is that everybody else already asked the questions that you wanted to ask. I'd like to echo Councillor Maynard and Councillor Gray's thoughts on this in terms of the report in general and the work that Robin, Colin, that you and the rest of the team have been putting into it. An extraordinary document. I think probably the only kind of sort of clarification for me, I think it was down about page 154, but I may be wrong. Was are we sure that this, by going with the Y+T model, is going to be more cost effective in the long run than staying with the regional model? We have, you know, how are we feeling about that at this stage? I know it's early, but
I
I think what's clear, perhaps in the report, is that that it's all financial modelling, and so it would be hard to say that we are certain about anything. But what we probably are certain about is that with the economic regulation that's going to be put over this, and is that we're going to get the best value for our communities going forward as they look at what we're delivering to the community. There may be as things work out over the next few years, and I think there'll be a big hump of work and establishment in what Wellington region has to do in terms of their investment. 10 years from now, it may be better to be joining up or going with somebody else. So I don't have a crystal ball on that. We have what we have at the moment, and that certainly indicated that on an average, the Y plus T was slightly lower, but the devil's all going to be in the detail as we work through. And there's all those other things that were positive about going with the ones.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Macaulay.
Yes, so this is going to sound a little bit of a stuck record, because I also want to congratulate you and the team on this paper. It is really just so professional and so well analysed. You're quite right, it's a little bit of a crystal ball, and I just think you've done the most possible to actually give us as much factual stuff as there is. And it's a really big decision for us, and big cost implications. And I mean, I would have felt really, well, I still feel slightly nervous about the decision, but a lot less nervous, because I feel that we can justify, and not going to have the carpet pulled out of our feet with suddenly some great big fact coming out that we should have known about. So I think for me, with all the other aspects, there's a slight cost difference against the YT kind of model, but given all the other things, the importance of the relationship with the EV and the responsibilities there, the responsiveness, and I personally think it's best not to be the smallest fish in a big pond. I'm very much in favour of the YT approach, and thank you very much.
Councillor Evans.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Robin, again, not only for the work that you've done on this model, but also the previous pre-waters transitional waterfront process that you were doing in the last triennium as well. A lot of that work, I think, has fed through into to form supply information, form detail and reports in this work. So that's great, thanks. I've just got one question, and then I've got a bit more to say. Certainly on some of those slides that were presented, that it showed and it compared our three Wairarapa councils to Y plus T. It compared the Tararua Council, it said that there was a requirement for Tararua Council to carry out 150 million of water capex program, and then that, by going down the Y plus T model for Tararua Council, would create another possible 42 million of borrowing headroom. In the comparison for South Y, it said that our water infrastructure, water capex program to be funded is 145 mil, but there didn't, 145 million, yeah, but there wasn't a comment about what borrowing headroom that would create for South Wairarapa by being involved with Wairarapa plus T. Yeah, sorry, perhaps I might discuss that.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and I was just wondering what the borrowing headroom would be for South Wairarapa by being involved in Y plus T, because that wasn't articulated in those slides.
Through the chair, that's one of the downsides of doing an enhanced annual plan last year and not having an LTP.
Right.
So the work that's been done has been based on the modelling of the future programme in the LTP, which we're still working on,
Yep.
which is why it's not in our report. But it's
Okay. Thanks. No, thanks for that. I was just wondering why there was a discrepancy of the equivalent information. Certainly, in the last week or so, with the reporting that's been in the media, there's been some concern within this Martinborough community about the value and the size of the household water bills which South Wairarapa residents will be facing, which are forecast to be higher than average across the Wairarapa Plus T councils. And I think, and there's no doubt that if we didn't join a Y plus T model, those water bills for that $145 million cap program over the next 9 to 10 years would be unachievable for our council and our ratepayers. But those water bills that have been forecast under this model are still of concern to our ratepayers. So I think while we're making a really big decision today for this table, but also for an intergenerational going forward across the district, I think that we've got to keep in mind that our next lot of decision making for our LTPs, sorry, our LTP going forward, we've got to, while those water bills are going to be higher than what they are now, we've got to ensure that what we forecast in our LTP is affordable for our ratepayers at the same time, because while our ratepayers are actually paying the water rates to us, they're going to be paying the water rates to our entity, to the water entity, and then they're going to be paying rates to this council. So we've just got to ensure that if those water rates are high, to do that $145 million of capital work over the next 10 years, we still have to be able to ensure that our rates for our residents are affordable at our level. Thanks for your work.
Right. So I start. Okay. First and foremost, I know we shouldn't speak about other councillors, but I'm going to speak about one speaker from Masterton who really, I think, resonated comments that have already been made, and that's Jo Hayes. And the way she spoke about, from an iwi perspective, about water being critical and Rangatani and Kānunu on this side of the island within our catchment area. I look at it slightly different, but probably with a very similar lens, that this is our catchment area. And whilst I'm not iwi, I still see where the rain comes and where our water comes from. I like the idea that this gives us the option to set our own destiny as Wairarapa people without worrying about what's happening on the other side of the island or in Wellington. I was also really taken, Robin, by your presentation at the workshop, and it struck me that your team understood the Wairarapa significantly more than what the Wellington team did. It was chalk and cheese for me, absolutely. And you know, I like the idea of setting our own destiny as a Wairarapa people. And so, you know, it goes to no surprise that I'm Y+ in my vote. But I'm also looking at it from an analysis point of view, and I really like in your paper here the multi-criteria analysis that you've done. It gives a really good way to assess both proposals in a very unbiased way. And I'm really struck by the fact that the regional council model only wins by 1% in one category.
That's right.
And in every other category, it's last. And that's even against our current model, which we already know that is not particularly serving. So, you know, when you rate them in 1 to 7, the regional council model or the regional model is number 6 on the list, and that's quite telling, I think. So when you put all that together, you know, I just think it's a no-brainer. And also taking on the idea that Woody's concept of options in the future. If you go regional, you're stuck pretty much, and it's a big upfront cost. If we go smaller, we have options in the future, and I think that's really important. And you know, but I come back to Joe's comments about one area, one people, and how important it is to be responsible for our own water, and whether you're iwi or not, still rely on water from our own area. So that's right.
I'll quickly say, thank you, Councillor Plum. I'll quickly say a couple of words and then I'll throw to you, Councillor Holmes, to close us out. But yeah, I've already said that I think the work that's gone into this is, you know, fantastic. It has made the decision that is a hugely difficult one that much easier when you can look at multi criteria and know that you're not making a decision based on feeling, that you're making a decision based on good information and good data. Like Councillor Ealams, I have deep concerns around the financial impact of this reform on our communities. But to move forward, we must ensure that we don't apply any extra and unjustified cost. And so that is one reason that I think we need to exit the regional option. The costs to continue are too much to stay in. I think we need an option that reflects the needs of our communities, that understands our communities. We, as part of a provincial district and region, our needs and our way of life is vastly different from the metros. We have learnt through experience that our provincial council is not a natural fit with the metro councils, but we do work well with our neighbours. I look forward to an entity that is governed by our own people and gives contracting work and economic growth to our communities. And it's for that reason that I will be voting to exit the Wellington regional option and stay with a Y+T option for consultation with our communities. So,
thank you. Anyhow, firstly, I'd like to thank councillors in this room and Deputy Bishop for inviting me to be your representative around the advisory oversight group. It's been quite a steep learning curve, as you can imagine, and probably the last challenging thing of this magnitude that I took on was the Remuanga Whaitū Committee, which was five odd years of my life looking at the implementation of that plan into those natural resources plan. So that was a biggie, and you really had to understand the fundamentals of your catchment and its land and its use. This is not a heck of a lot different because we're dealing with water again. The regional model certainly has merit. First national meetings were quite exciting to be around that table, having listened to similar problems, both metro and rural and provincial, that we all shared around the table. But I must admit the metro problems were far greater than our little rural and provincial ones in the Wairarapa. I have to say, when Robin, Johannes and Maz put together a Wairarapa option, it was a breath of fresh air, because we could see that there was hope at the end of the day. We would have some say in the delivery model, because I think that's been our biggest concern with a metro style delivery of services, that us rural and provincial people have been left high and dry in some areas. And we've seen that through some of the work that's been contracted or let out or we've agreed to, taking months and months and months. Not to say that it's going to change overnight, but I think we'll have more say and more control back to our the CCO shouldn't occur in the Wairarapa, the Waiting. Excuse me, I'm just recovering from pneumonia, so I won't talk too long. As I said, it's been an amazing journey, and I've got to take my hat off to Robin, Johannes, Maz and David, I think, or Tara, I call it. Sorry, yeah. Peter and Tara for the work that they've done. They've got skin in the game because this is all done in-house. There's been no external consultants. They're all ratepayers in their districts, and they've got our best interests at heart. And to me, that carries a huge amount of weight. So I'm really grateful, Robin, to you and Johannes is over there. Yeah. So thank you very much. And obviously, it's quite clear I want to exit the Wellington regional model and put our energies into the Wairarapa. Thank you.
Thank you. I will move to the recommendations. What I am going to do is take my chances and move items 1 through 7, which are all just noting and receiving recommendations, but I will go through and read them. So I'm looking for a mover to receive the local waters done well report. Note the legislative changes enacted under the government's plan, local waters done well, through the local government water services preliminary arrangements Act 2024 to address long-standing water infrastructure challenges, which includes A, the requirement for councils to produce a water services delivery plan and accompanying implementation plan by 3 September 2025, ensuring water services are financially sustainable, and C, greater central government oversight through economic and quality regulation. 3, notes that the government intends to introduce further water services legislation in December 2024 to be enacted in mid-2025 that will establish economic and regulatory oversight regime for services. 4, notes that the council is required by the Local Government Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Act 2024 to consider and consult on at least 2 options for the future delivery model for water services, being the status quo and an alternative. 5, notes the council has been participating in the development of 2 joint arrangement projects as an alternative to the status quo, being a 10 council Wellington Region Water Services Delivery Plan option and a 4 council Wairarapa and Tauranga Water Services Delivery Plan option. And 6, receives the Wellington Regional Model Report dated 4 October 2024 on a recommended regional approach to a joint water services delivery plan and delivery model across the Wellington region, attached as Appendix 1 to this report. And 7, receives the Y+T joint arrangement report attached as Appendix 2 to the report. I'm looking for a mover, Councillor Plummer, and a seconder, Councillor Gray. All those in favour of items 1 through 7, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Those are carried unanimously. I'm now looking for a mover for number 8, resolves to exit the joint Wellington Regional Water Services Delivery Plan project. Councillor Woodcock and Councillor Olds to second. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Carried unanimously. 9, resolves to continue the development of the Wairarapa and Tauranga Water Services Delivery Plan option for consultation against the status quo model. Councillor Elams, Councillor Olds, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. The motion is carried. Then 10, notes that the Chief Executive will draft an agreement with participating councils for the development of a joint Y+T water services delivery plan and bring this to council for consideration once agreed. Councillor Plummer, Councillor Gray, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Carried unanimously.
Don't propose. Are we done?
What are we going to do for the other 3 hours?
We're just gonna hold, everybody pause for 1 moment.
43 minutes.
Well, we still well done, everyone. It is a big decision. We have a huge amount of work ahead of us, though, as we will go to consultation on the status quo and this alternative in the new year. So it is now the next important step will be helping our community understand the options.
Communication.
Basically, I'll do.
Looks like the same bunch.
Well, on behalf of our council and the vote that we made today and the decision we made today, I'd really like to thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate that, thank you, but I've got to acknowledge my teammates, Johannes. Getting online and enjoy the team, and we're a great team, and we really look forward to keep working together on this for the community. So thank you.
Please do.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you. Well, we will bring this very important meeting to a close. I ask you all to join me in the karakia, which hopefully you've got good copies of the table. the meeting is closed. It is 1:16 and the next meeting starts at 2. So, okay.
Janice,